Bryan, I've been working for months on my music. I feel like it's ready for prime time. Do you have anywhere I should go to record?
Yes. Let's go to Wal-Mart.
Back tires, garden hose, Pop-Tarts and Cheerios make great art at Wal-Mart. Earworm stuck in my mind, can't get it out this time.
Now,
So going to Walmart, what?
welcome to episode 11, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Earworm podcast. I'm Bryan Clark.
Patrick Cloud?
We just had a crazy experience.
Yeah.
Basically, we walked into a Walmart in Franklin, Tennessee, and much to our surprise and chagrin, we found a recording studio that had 6 rooms, and it was right next to the produce
Yeah.
and the sushi bar.
Yeah.
So
I needed to get my bok choy and my grapefruits for the week
exactly,
and do some recording while I was there.
exactly,
You know, do a
yeah,
little-
yeah.
so.
As you do,
as one does.
as one does in Tennessee. So
Surprise, it's Nashville.
Yeah, right.
We have a recording studio in Walmart.
okay, but there's a couple of things that immediately come into question. One is Williamson County, which is where Franklin is one of the wealthiest counties in the United States.
It is, yeah.
Per capita.
A lot
right?
of rich people there.
Okay, so you're putting in a recording studio in a Walmart. Walmart is known for expensive prices or low prices?
Low prices.
Okay, so we have this equation going on. And then inside the recording studios, which there were 6 rooms, 4 were the same size, $60 an hour. One was slightly bigger, $70 an hour. Primarily, those studios were set up for almost a podcast, right? Pretty much exactly what we're doing. The larger
Except
one
didn't have any gear.
well, it wasn't a real studio.
It was just kind of a room.
It was a room that you crawled inside and shut the door, and it blocked out the sound from Walmart and people paging their lost children.
And I almost wonder if it does that.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if anybody's actually recording in them.
Yeah.
Number one, actually recording in them. But number two, it's like, how many times do you hear, we got to clean up on aisle 3,
Exactly.
come through on the overhead.
Yeah, exactly. Automotive, aisle 9, oil spill. I mean,
Yeah, or like the random fire alarm test,
exactly. Exactly.
That's
Attention
not
to-
on the record, man.
That's right. So right, but it could be. Maybe that's what we're missing.
Maybe that's what we're missing.
That's what we're missing. We need to go to Walmart to make a record.
Yeah, I wonder if they do like rollback pricing or, just kind of
That would be amazing.
hilarious.
That would be good.
So anyway.
Okay. All right, so we go in, we do all this stuff, we suss it out. Then they've got an Atmos room, which is a 7.1.4 for those Atmos nerds out there. It wasn't a 916, it was a 714, $100 an hour.
Yep.
Now, okay, I'm thinking, when you walk into these rooms, there is no backline.
Right.
So there is no drums. There's no
instruments.
multiple drum kits to choose from.
Yep.
There's no bass amps to choose from. No guitars, no guitar amps, no keyboards, no pianos, no mic locker.
It's literally a whisper room with a desk that has a...
You nailed it.
Yeah, with a computer in it.
Yeah.
So there's not really doing anything. I just
Right.
don't know what they're doing. So you walk in, the first thing you see is a podcast studio on the left. And it looks like Theo Vaughn or whatever podcast set that you would look at that's very generic. Two chairs or like a small couch.
Yeah.
Modular, you can change it. They have some cool cameras that are not plugged in.
Right.
So immediately, if you're like paying the $60 or $70 an hour, you automatically are unpacking gear and putting things together just to get started, right? And that might take you an hour to do. But regardless, it's a nice little thing. If you're set up and you've written 6 episodes of a podcast and you're ready to go, you can go in, you have your editor with you or an engineer, you can probably get up and running. It might be a pretty good value as opposed to renting out a space. But other than that,
It's a big one.
yeah, they have all these little rooms where I could go to Blackbird for nearly the same hourly rate
Yeah.
and have access to amplifiers, drum, like all of the, some gear, right? Not all of it, but some gear.
Yeah.
And some help, right? So when I look at it as a commodity and a thing that's in a Walmart, like a Lens Crafters or or something like that, I just don't understand it. I haven't been able to put it together.
I can't either. But okay,
Yeah.
so for those of you who are still trying to wrap your head around it, like we are, This is an outfit that was sort of chartered by Full Sail University, which is not a university, which is odd, but it's essentially an audio engineering school that is non-degree. It's a certificate obtaining thing, just much like Blackbird Academy when I was teaching at the Blackbird Academy. So there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with Full Sail. They have great curriculum, and a lot of wonderful people that I've met in the industry went to Full Sail. So we're not bagging Full Sail, and we're not bagging the employees or anything else like that.
No, everybody's super nice.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is, and this is, I think, the part that hurts my soul, is what does it say about the industry and how we value music? It's not a sacred art form. It is no longer the soothsayers and the wise men and women on the hill that come down and reach from the void and deliver us prophetic messages of enjoyment, whether it's just, let's get drunk and screw, or, here's the meaning of your life. It doesn't matter, but there was a journey, there was a process to it, and this has been refined to the cold, calculated, volume discount retailer shit bin of this is what art and music is now in the U.S. Is it?
Well, where does it intersect with Walmart? Is there's, they sell records.
Why not Guitar Center?
Well, Guitar Center, like their lessons program,
right?
The rooms are identical.
Yeah.
If you walk into one of their lessons rooms, it's the same.
It's exactly
room,
the same, right?
But they're not doing recording.
And look, by the way, Sweetwater, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Sweetwater already has this, and I went up there and did a clinic with Astro Up Cables, and it was a lovely experience because when you walk in, you see these excited kids of all ages. And when I say kids, they could be 50. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But they're running into these rooms and they're actually getting guitar lessons. They've got a huge cafeteria. They have medical offices there for the employees. They also have full fitness center, racquetball courts, outdoor. It's like utopia for musicians in a lot of ways, and the full retail store.
Right. And keep in mind, this Create It program, which is what it's called, isn't necessarily lessons or education. Now, they do have a full workshop schedule where they bring people in and they have cool, like, introduction to synthesizers. They do all of this educational stuff. And really, I feel like it's just in an effort to feed the curriculum at Full Sail, feed students to it.
100%.
Because there's just no way that there's making money in this regard. Because we did the math, right? If you're paying 4 employees, right?
Yeah.
You already have to have those rooms full for every hour that an employee is working in order to offset it.
Yeah.
And we went in there and none of the rooms had anyone in them.
No, it was empty.
Right, on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and
during the summer.
And they're open from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. So they close when Walmart does, but they open at 11.
A little bit later, yeah.
Right. Okay, so to me, this is the metaphor for, I think, how we value music. And when I say we, I mean as a loose, generic, bell curve type of average on how most Americans consume music.
Sure.
Right?
So and I hate even, proposing it, but, music has been devalued just as the products in a Walmart have. I see the similarity.
Yeah.
Music is not worth what it once was. And we can see that from MTV's gone and, record sales are down. We have a different delivery system, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And that delivery system and the ease, the democratization of music industry where it makes it available for anyone to be able to walk in and start learning how to do these things, where music has become, it's not about a record sale necessarily. Now it's resurrected a little bit recently, but not about a record sale, but it's more about selling tickets to your concert or pushing people through your social media in a popularity contest, as opposed to really judging how great the music is.
I think you're right. I mean, just to go back, say 50 years, the single promoted the album and that was the primary source of income.
The tour promoted the album.
Exactly. Yeah. It was all geared towards what was the hub. The album was the hub. The album was what you were really trying to get people to buy. And now it's the album promotes the socials and the socials and the album try to promote a tour.
Yeah. Have you noticed that concert tickets have gotten more expensive?
Oh my God. Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like it used to not be the thing. Tickets were $12 to see Nirvana when I saw them, and it was because they were trying to sell in utero. It wasn't about selling tickets to the Lakefront Arena. It was about selling the record.
Yeah.
So now when it shifts to the financials being about putting asses in seats, you got to get more for each ass. So that's another thing.
And then we won't even get into Ticketmaster and Live
That's a whole other
Nation, which
episode.
is a whole level of hell that even Dante couldn't even imagine. But like that is, and we'll make an episode about this because it deserves one.
Yeah, it'll be the ferryman. We'll go through each layer.
We should.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Woo! I can't wait for that one. All right. So, but yeah, and I think that there's just this incredible need for people to resonate, because if we look at the valuation right now of the American music scene, it's worth $11.5 billion, right? And vinyl makes up just over 10% of that, right? Record vinyl sales in 2025 eclipsed $1 billion for the first time ever.
Yeah. And
So-
it's been growing for 20 years.
It has. It's been very much a steady thing, right? And so what's happened in say, if we go back to say 2000, what's happened in these 26 years? Well, basically, we had peer-to-peer sharing. We all know about Napster and Sean Fanning and all of that other stuff. And
Complete
then
downloads.
complete
That's
downloads.
the big thing to remember here.
That is. And so what ends up happening, though, and this I think is worth the audience to remember, is that when we move into consumer behavior and different types of paradigms for that, it affects the industry, right? So now, for example, when you buy a vinyl, so you have that lovely 9-inch downward spiral, it's a double LP, yeah, behind you. It's fascinating and great. But when you have that, you actually are getting, in some instances, if you're the artist, if you're a return resident, you're going to get 1,000 times more royalty earnings than you will if someone streamed the entire album. And you'll get a little bit more if they downloaded and then streamed the entire album. And then it depends upon, well, what's their plan? Are they on a premium plan? Is it a student? Is it a family? Or is it a freemium model? All of those debase your royalty earnings as an artist. I can say 100% accurate, my income from record sales from 2000 to now has fallen 90%.
Sure. Now, also,
That's also because my records suck.
well, there's that.
No one wants to hear it.
Well, the other part of it too is that it's the listening through the whole song is also another variable for getting paid. Sure. If you click away from a song in the middle of it, they don't get a full stream for it.
Yeah, there's a thing, right. And then every platform pays out on a different rate. So there's no statutory rate that's set up by Congress. Whereas, and we won't get into this, there'll be no math, I promise, ladies and gentlemen, but just bear with me for a second. But like when you make a what's called a physical download or a physical, when you're talking about physical royalties, that means that you own it. And that's the big cultural paradigm shift, is that we've moved from an ownership model to a rent model, an access model, right? So think about it now, like for $9.99 a month, let's say, right? You can pay Apple Music or the choice service of your choice. You can pay that service, that DSP, $9.99 a month, and typically you're going to have access to well over 30 million songs. You could not listen to them all in one lifetime.
Nope.
It would take you more than 2.5 if you listened 24/7 a day and they were 3 minutes and 30 seconds each. That's the level of that's almost the entire recorded corpus of humanity.
Right.
Okay. So, and there's thousands of songs being uploaded onto these DSPs every minute.
Yeah.
So we're just drowning in data. So now it becomes about, you wouldn't own all of these records, obviously, but you have access to so much that you would never be able to go through. So if you miss that one $9.99 payment, you have zero.
Yeah.
You go
gone.
from everything to nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is what is represented when you walk into a Wal-Mart and you see a recording studio. It's like, how little is music worth now that we're
Right.
putting a recording studio in a Walmart?
Yeah.
It's insulting to me in a way that it makes me sad. And I'm insulted by being sad by such a weird, bland, high volume marketing ploy to an art form that I hold so sacred and means so much to me. And not everyone has to be on that train. That's fine. But I'm going to get sad. That's a depressing moment for me.
Well, I think to go back to the studio itself, it's like we talk a lot about, and we have talked a lot about the economy of effort, where what it takes to make in the environment that you're in. So let's say I am ready and I've prepared and I'm going to go into that Wal-Mart and I'm going to record a song today.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? What do? You go in and you say, all right, I want to rent this room.
Yeah.
Then what?
Right. And because they don't have an engineer on staff,
right.
There's no assistant, there's no one's going to be able to go, oh, you need to establish this song, title your session. You're going to save it on this hard drive. Oh, by the way, your mic's too hot. I mean, there's no one there. You're on your own. You're renting a space for $60 an hour, or the larger one, $70, or if you want to go straight to Atmos, you can rent it for $100 an hour. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away for 2 or 3 hours from this experience. You're going to walk away from it and go, I could have spent that money and gone to Guitar Center and bought all the same gear that these people had.
Yep.
And put it in my own home and learned it on my own time and probably made a better recording.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing. And I just think about how when you're confined to a room like that, it's all you can do is cut and paste and basically do computer work.
Yeah.
Is what I'm getting at. And when you walk into a studio and I said, Bryan, I'm coming to Blackbird and I want to record a record, it's a whole different experience where you're recording guitars live and you feel all of those different movements. Where in the new age of technology where it's cut and paste and quantize and auto-tune and all of these things, it's like you're manufacturing music for an algorithm as opposed to making music and recording music to be celebrated with other human beings.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that one thing I don't want to make us sound like we're, the grumpy old dudes on the hill that are just bitching about
Get off my lawn!
Yeah, But I think that it's kind of like this. A lot of music, we listened to the new Drake album, right? What We Could Stomach the other day. And I'm not a fan of this new release. I don't find it entertaining. I think it's just a very vapid artistic offering. From someone who has a very...
Could be the reason it's in, he's got 4 songs in the top 10 because it just came out. And again, it's a popularity contest.
It's a novelty
right?
issue. Right,
so,
exactly. Because when you look at the top 10, right, if we go back in and we look at Billboard top 10, here's the thing. Everybody places so much attention on the top 10. Oh, it's top 10, it's top 10, it's top 10. That's why. We did a whole episode on lists.
On lists, yeah.
Right? And the psychology behind them. But if you actually look at the Billboard top 10s and you look at sort of for the end of the year, the best performing songs, you're going to find that it is a really bad box of chocolates. You know what I mean? There's some crazy chocolates in there that you're like, this is not good.
And, we went back by decade.
Yeah.
And it's never really changed all that.
It hasn't.
It's always been kind of crappy.
Yeah. And I think...
Like Macarena being number 1.
Yeah. It was like 2006 or something. Yeah. But we went all the way back into, the early 70s and just to kind of get a real 50-year perspective on it. But the real lesson, I think, is that, and I think you agree with me, but I would be willing to suggest that the real songs that we carry with us as these mean something to us, our totems that we put in our psychological and heartfelt, sort of gig bag and bring with us on this journey of life, and it's the soundtrack to our existence, were never spent a long time in the top 10. It's the majority of them were probably 11 to 30. Right. It's the, Tom Sawyer, it's the, I Just Called to Say I Love You. Hey Jude, it's like a lot of the Beatles were number 1, but it was a little bit of a different era back then in the 60s than the 70s. But once we got into this huge consolidation and vertical organization of the music business, the algorithm starts to take over. And it's so much easier nowadays for record executives to plug an algorithmic feature into the artist and try to negotiate that into some type of playlist or some type of marketing campaign. And it's all been systematically designed to push all of your buttons, from FOMO, fear of missing out, to, everything else that goes in between, from, your sex nature, your hunger nature, all of the simian natures of us can constantly be manipulated and played with using these algorithmic devices. So we spent a little bit of time looking at AI artists, right? And there's three that we sort of looked at. But one of the things that we talked about, and I think that's worth sharing, is basically how AI will produce. It's almost been so nuanced algorithmically to what is the perfect amount of the bell curve that will sound super familiar to you, to where you will naturally like it. Like the voice will sound like, you know what, that kind of sounds like Chris Stapleton, or, oh man, it sounds kind of like Bob Marley, but not quite. Or maybe it sounds like whoever. And, if you type in some alternative rock, it may sound a little bit like Robert Smith, or maybe it sounds a little bit more like Morrissey, but not quite, but enough to where you're like, wait a minute. And that wait a minute is all they need.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the research, there's, it's like when they create these boxes to check off, it's like, all right, so at what point in the songs do people clicking off? It's like, okay, well, at that point in the song, we need to be where the song's going, right? So the intros have gotten shorter.
Introduce
the
something
length
new.
of song on average has gotten shorter too, because the longer it is, the more chance you have of someone clicking away from it, right? Yeah. So as they've take all of these different Scantron sheets and put them all together and they run it through Ella Langley, all of a sudden it becomes more and more like the same thing that everybody's listening to. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see it happen. And we're seeing it in real time.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely experiencing it in real time.
Oh, yeah. And
we're watching bands change in front of us and artists change in front of us in order to fit an algorithmic positive.
I think we're headed down this thing what Dennis Miller said a long time ago of like our attention span is like that of a ferret on espresso. But I think that, that is sort of where we're headed. It reminds me of this great hardcore punk band back in the 80s called DRI, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. Mm-hmm. And they had a song called Reaganomics. It was like 13 seconds long. And it was like, Reaganomics killing you, Reaganomics killing me. And that was the end of the tune.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I mean, that might have been 13 seconds right there. You know what I mean? But like, it was literally that big. And I was like, that is a genius song because it just hits everything. But little did I know that the entire recording industry would start pivoting that way.
Sure.
In a popular vein.
Yeah.
Because obviously we know, and I'm sure everyone else is listening knows too, that there is so much great music out there with all of the genres that we know and love and the diversity of them and how they're not the most popular genres out there, but there's so much passion and so much sacrifice and so much just absolute love for this. That is what we want to preserve. Yeah. But my concern would be how much of the popular madness gets trickled down into these, and how do we become sort of heightened and aware and on guard to make sure that these parameters don't actually influence these other genres.
Try and preserve the development of the music industry and music in general. And I think, there's also the flip side too, is like the democratization has made it possible for some people to actually engage with making music, where previously it was kind of not cheap ever to really be a musician and dedicate your time and your life to it without a lot of musical success. Yeah. So I think that maybe it's given some people opportunities that maybe didn't exist before.
I agree with that. I think that's true. But I wonder, and there's probably no statistical data that we could actually access to prove this.
We'll make it up. No, I'm just
but I wonder, why not? But I wonder, what the quality of that artistic personality is rather than the ones that did go and bust their ass with 5 jobs during the summer so they could buy that introductory level Les Paul and an amp.
Yeah.
Because that sacrifice means something, right? And we appreciate that intuitively. We don't have this problem in any other real industry. We really don't. Sports. I mean, you think about all the sacrifice that it takes to be a professional athlete in any sport, right?
There's nobody half-assed in that.
And there's no one, and there's no one like, hey, anyone can be a professional.
Yeah.
There's bullshit, and that's not happening, right? I mean, if you and I walked into the Vanderbilt, cardiology center, and we're like, "Hey, I've got some cardiovascular problems," and some, Dr. Spachiman comes out of the back, with a handheld business card that says he's a doctor, and he's like, "Yeah, go ahead and sit on my table." No, right? I mean, so music, because it's an art form, truly, that you are who you say you are.
Yeah.
And if your career backs up who you say you are, then you are that.
Right.
I love Bob Dylan's, business card. It just says working musician. That's my favorite of all time. My buddy Rick Schmidlin, who's a filmmaker back in LA, who helped put together the restoration of Touch of Evil from Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy,
Cool.
and mixed the Doors when he was a kid. Really good buddies with Manzarek, and he had a better business card, and
What did it say?
and it just said Rick Schmidlin since, and then the year of his birth. That's my favorite business
That's
card
pretty
ever.
good.
That's what I aspire to. Is that? But the idea is that you are who you say you are until other people go no. Either to your face or behind your back. That's the world and professionals live in. So music is one of these things where I think because music was expensive, and it still is on a professional level, if you want to buy a recording console or have a commercial studio or you save up, it's taken me 30 years to get to a point where I can record commercially and have enough gear to do it and, do that. But that doesn't make me better than anyone else, but what it does show is that I've got a lot of water under that bridge, and I've made a lot of sacrifices to get to it, and I love the journey, and I continue to. But the guy that's going to go into a Wal-Mart and go on a little, $100 interface and then get online and use Suno and type in, hey, I want something in the style of Drake or in the style of blah, 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 late 90s hip hop, and then it spits something back out to you in less than a minute. That person will probably not have a career in this industry because...
Well, they won't be able to perform.
Not only that, but it's just there's so much more to just the individuality of the artist in this ecosystem. You actually have to contribute in the ecosystem in order for you to be a professional or to make a career in it, right? You can't just anoint yourself an artist and then expect people to flock to your door and go, "Oh my God, where have you been all of our lives?"
And counterpoint, it's exactly what's happening with some of the AI artists that are out there.
Right.
And we were very deliberate about looking up the artists and saying, all right, are they on, what platforms are they on? And there are some that are on Apple Music, and it doesn't say anything about them being AI.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a frustrating thing because, honestly, if we listen to it, we could probably tell. We've worked enough in AI to have an understanding and to know where those nuances are. But, to the unknowing or somebody that's not paying attention, they could all of a sudden be a big fan of somebody that doesn't even exist.
And that's the difference, is the people that are auteurs or aficionados or connoisseurs, whatever nice adjective you want to use, and the professionals, and those folks really will be able to tell very, very quickly and have a natural revulsion against anything that's AI generated in this art form. And then there's a huge percentage of the population that are passive listeners, and they don't really care because they're not trying to figure out the meaning of their life through an artistic expression. They're just basically like, hey, it's cool. It's a block party, it's 4 kegs, and it's a crawfish boil, and we're just hanging out, right? Well, there's a time and a place for that too. But in your quiet moments, if that's what you end up going to, then you have an impoverished existence, in my opinion.
Sure.
If you're not aware of the great magnum opuses of any composer or artist in any genre of any time period, and you can't hit these high water marks of artistic achievement of humanity, then your life is going to be probably not as rich as it could be.
And that's a really good kind of rundown of all that. I'm still just trying to figure out who's recording music at Wal-Mart. So to change topics, Bryan, I came this morning and Bryan showed me a home lathe system.
Yeah.
for cutting records.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I mean, apparently
I
there's...
figure it kind of fits in with the theme of today.
Yeah, okay,
you know?
so for me, I'm always looking for a couple of things. And one of the things that I'm always interested in is the concept of scarcity. Because one of the things that this revolution in digital media has done to music is that it's made everything immediately accessible and easily repeatable. So you want to talk about economy of effort. It is the utmost. It's zero, right? There's no cost to reproducing a file, right? Or there's nothing. So for me, it's like, well, what if we make limited editions? So I'll do this with my records where I'll make a limited edition, and then when it runs out, I don't print anymore. I might redo another batch, but it's going to be different. It's going to have a different color, a different cover, maybe a different song order, maybe a new song or less song. You know what I mean? There's just something there so that way people can get it. And I think we're naturally attracted to that. So this lathe that is being developed is essentially something that will allow you to have playback at home where I could actually take my master recordings and make a one-off record, and it would be a 1-to-1 ratio. Like as the song plays, it's cutting it. There's no way to hit, Command V, and Command C, and just copy and paste it. No, it actually has to spin out in real time and actually cut grooves in a thing, and then you sell that as a bonus, or for super fans, or for folks that really want a real something that's unique, and then you can make limited editions. You can sign them. You can autograph. Like you can give people an experience that lets them know that they're getting something really, really special.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love a limited edition record. I love when there's extra liner notes and news stories like in the Nine Inch Nails one, or different pictures and stuff. And a lot of bands are doing it now where they'll be like, all right, where the album's coming out, we got one that's limited to 300, one that's limited to 500, one that's limited to 1,000. They're all different colors, and that's all cool. Yep. I like the collectability of that, being the nerd of the collectibles that I am into. Right. Comes with being a Star Wars fan.
Did you hear that?
But if you're not into it, I know. Yes, the tradition continues. Yeah. But like, if you're not into it, and music is not like a central point in your life of how you sort of go through this mortal coil, then you're not going to be interested in something like that.
So does music sound different on a vinyl?
Yeah, it does sound different. It does. It does sound different.
What's the difference between like me pulling up Taylor Swift on Spotify or listening to it on a vinyl record?
Well, it depends. A couple of things happen. So when you're listening to something on a vinyl record, it is a mechanical means of reproduction. So you're going to have a very small amount of mechanical deviancy. Could be wow, could be flutter. It could be a little bit of mechanical noise.
Can you talk about wow and flutter?
Yeah, wow and flutter are basically what has happened. That's a sort of a dragged term in from tape machines, which essentially is when the tape transport doesn't operate at a perfect consistency, then there's little bits where the tape, remember the tape is it's actually being drug over these linear playback heads, and the tape sort of moves up and down slightly, right? So there's a little bit of essentially modulation with the frequency. And the same thing also happens where if the tape reels aren't collecting and distributing exactly in sync, and one of them slightly faster than the others, then there's a little bit of a bop. It's almost like when you push the gas down on your car and there's a little bit of a hesitancy.
Sure.
It's almost like that, right? So wow and flutter do slightly different things, but it creates little wrinkles of artifacts in the audio domain.
Yeah, which I love because it emphasizes, especially on older records, it emphasizes that creative moving mics around, the way the air is captured, and the way that we mix, and the way that vocals are a little bit off from each other if they're background vocals, and how not every time you hit that drum beat it's going to be exactly the same. Right. There's something about that, and listening to it on a vinyl that almost accentuates it a little bit, and it might actually give a little bit back for some of the digital recordings that are making their way to vinyl that we're hearing, and giving back some of that analog warmth that is missing from the recording.
I think in the digital domain, here's the danger, is that you run into this like remastered complex, the remix, the remastered version. How many times?
I heard some real bad remixes.
Oh, me too. And
especially on Atmos.
Well, and they actually ruin records, that way. And then all of a sudden on your digital service, it's the only one that's available.
Right.
It's the 2016 remastered version of Abbey Road or whatever. And you're like, I didn't need it to be remastered. It was perfect the first time. Same thing with AC/DC's Back in Black. Or there's certain albums that go through the hatchet job of being remastered, and it's just awful.
And that's the only one that you get. Or
Moving Pictures from Rush is another one.
Totally.
Right?
But then there's also albums from artists that never made it to streaming for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And their vinyls are $300.
Right.
I remember I picked up Garth Brooks' Rope in the Wind.
Right.
That album is not on streaming. Like, you go to any streaming platform, it doesn't exist. That's his best record, in my opinion.
Right.
And
it's a great one.
I found it on vinyl, and it was very expensive. But it's the only way you can listen to it is on a physical media. Anything that has already been printed, pressed, or there. Now, I'm sure that he's saving it up to do a 40th anniversary box set, re-release, etc. Yeah. Probably. I'm not calling it. I don't know, Garth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting to kind of find those and pursue those. And that's one of the things about physical media that I just love.
Yeah. That man is a wonderful human being. And the limited contact that I've had with him when I was at Blackbird, he's a very inspiring individual to be around.
That's awesome.
I can't say enough about him. He's a saint.
Wow.
But I would say this, when you get into the digital domain, you run into this idea of the hatchet job of remixing this, and there's this gaming of the record where they're going to try to resell it on some anniversary or whatever, and it's going to be a new digital version. That could happen.
Right. Well, if you have some kind of weird record contract that says you have to put out X amount of releases,
typically,
then you get put in a corner of it's
either
go write a new record or we want your greatest hits volume 3.
Yeah. Or you have to have a minimal contribution. Depends on the recording contract. It's very sticky wickets. But the other part is on the other side is that you're dealing with an ownership model. When you own the vinyl, you own the vinyl, and it is a documented piece of art. Whereas when you own a digital file, if you own it, you don't. You have access to it from your subscription fee.
You're just borrowing it, yeah.
Right. And so that could change at any time. They could change the algorithm of the bit rate and everything else, the megabytes per second. They could change all that on a moment's notice. So there's a difference between a lossless and a quasi Atmos version, or a surround sound, or a immersive audio mix, as opposed to the original one. And you may not have the choice to go back to the original one, but when you have the vinyl, you do.
Right, because you can't back up Apple Music.
No, you can't.
I can back that up.
Yeah. And you can digitize it and then have it as a digital backup, and that's fine too. Yeah. But yeah, there's also something ritualistic about being able to go in and flip a record over and listen to it in a sequence that you're going to be less likely to try to go in and get halfway through song 1 and go, you know what, I really want to hear track 6. Because track 6 is on the other side of the record. So you're probably going to let the record play all the way through and listen to it how it was originally intended by the artist and the band and the engineers and all those people that worked in tandem with each other in a creative mindset to say, this is the flow. It'd be like if we watched Empire Strikes Back.
Did you hear that?
And we basically went through the opening Hoth scene, and then we skipped straight to Luke leaving the Dagobah system.
Yeah, we missed a little bit.
Yeah, right? But you're likely to do that when it's digital and it's right in your hand, because you can get halfway through the song and be like, yeah, that's cool. And then boom.
Yeah.
And you missed the whole process.
Especially when you're in the car with your friends that have really severe ADHD.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And then they'll get you like, oh, dude, you got to hear this song. You got to hear this song. And then you get like 30 seconds into it. Oh, and they did this one too. And then they changed the song and you're like, stop.
Yeah. My son has...
I do it.
Yeah. My son has ADHD too, my youngest. And when he plays stuff for me in the car, that's it. I might get 15 seconds of a song. And then he puts on something else. I'm like, hold on. Let me listen to the whole song.
And we look at this, and I look at this record, and I want to listen to it all the way through, as Trent intended it to be listened to. Mm-hmm. But again, going back to the way that the industry has formatted itself for the algorithm, is nobody's making records for records. They're making song for song. So, and then they're only releasing one song at a time, and it might take them months to release their record, but they're doing it because they want to sell $1 at a time to try and get this song out, or they're trying to get social media hit by timing out when the songs come out in order to create that popularity, right?
That's what's changed in consumer behavior, is that now we're sort of being forced as artists to drip out content as a steady content provider, as if it's a weekly show that you're going to tune into.
Right.
Rather than, here's all 10 songs at once, and go spend time with this for 6 to 8 months.
And this has even changed.
I'll see you on the road, and now, by the way, I'm going to release another record in a year.
Yeah.
That's the way it used to be.
But it's even changed for like prog bands. Yeah. Like the Deer Hunter was making narrative albums, and then they made a couple that are just rock songs, because that's what it's told. Now your records, most recently, are very much conceptual records. Yeah. So they're, if you don't listen to them in order, you might be a little lost. And I love that, it's the, Dark Side of the Moon and all the Rush record, Dreams. I mean, everything, when having that theme to the whole album to pull it together is just something that was so special. Yeah. And it's just kind of lost on the youth now.
Yeah. Imagine just like, it's kind of like the Cliff Notes version, back when we were kids, if you never wanted to read War and Peace in its entirety. What you wanted to read was the Cliff Notes version of it, and it was enough to get you through a test with about a 75% grade. You'll make a C+. But if you really wanted to get into all of the rich, beautiful detail, you had to put in the effort, and it's the economy of effort.
Yeah.
And what are you willing to do, and what are you willing to spend your time on? And hopefully for folks that love music, we're wanting this rich experience. And we also value the artists that are willing to give us that, as opposed to an algorithmic-based artist or something that's purely dictated by the record companies that can come in and say, we're going to put this out. We know it's not the next greatest album in the history of humanity. It's just we've got a shareholder meeting next quarter, and we need to pad the bottom line. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And how do we tell the difference, and how do we respond when they pat it as if this is the next greatest artist? And of course, it's just nothing more than a flash in a pan.
So really, if we look at all of this and say, well, where do we go from here? The only thing that I could say is buy records.
Buy records. Buy records. Invest in the artists. Be curious.
Go see them live.
Yeah, go see them live. Or just get curious and just widen out your playlist. Don't let the algorithms choose your playlists for you. You need to actively go in and upturn the apple cart. And
nobody has to listen to Drake.
No, but if you're a Drake lover, I encourage you to type in Ray Price and listen to some old 60s country. And then I encourage you to go listen to, some Bruckner, and then maybe go check out some Ornette Coleman. And then after that, come back around to some thrash metal, and then come back to Drake. Like, widen your scope of humanity, because when you do, you realize that this world is such a beautiful place. It's so rich and vibrant, and we have such a capacity to do great things and experience everything. It's like, Emerson once said, you are vast, you contain multitudes. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. But why don't we embrace that? Think of your highest self. We get a little spiritual for a second.
Sure.
But think of your highest self. At that moment, all of us have had moments in our lives where we're like, this is what life should be like. This is me at my fullest expression. Whatever that is for you, I'm not talking about career. I'm just saying just you as a human being. Use that as, this is what I want to be today. Make that repeatable. Because when you do, you're going to find that you are open and you are totally free to just feel things and experience things, and that's what makes our life rich. So I think as we move forward, those are the experiences we need to seek. And music is one of the most heavenly forms of human expression that will get us there.
Awesome. You should also sun your butthole, is what they say.
That's right. That's right. That's what you need to do this month?
Is something about perenniums, something about...
Do you hear about that? Kristen told me about this. My wife told me about this one drug. We were watching it. It starts with a J. I can't remember it. But the side effects are that you get these huge rashes between your anus and your like, if you're a woman, it's right in your perineum. Mm-hmm. Like, it's this huge rash that happens.
Okay.
And I'm
taint
like,
rash. That's really great for
taint rash.
For your
and I think
side
it's for
effects.
something innocuous like dry eyes. Like if your eyes are dry. I'm like,
What
I
do you
don't-
exchange for moist eyes?
You know, it's the pharmaceutical equivalent of going to Walmart to make a record.
So I want to leave us with this though. So what if? So if we put a rider together on what it takes to make a record,
Yeah.
and we show up to Walmart with all of it and be like, hey, $60 an hour.
Dude.
We got like the roadies with the drums and like we got a bunch of guitars and like
Yeah.
rack gear and stuff.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing. That'd be so
Those
good.
dudes would shit their pants, dude.
Yeah, they would. They'd run for the hills.
But
They
wouldn't it
wouldn't
be
know.
funny if we did that and we spent a week at the Walmart and made like a 3-song EP? Be like, made it at Walmart. It's great.
Yeah.
And then get them to sell it next to the candy bars.
Yeah, totally. And then in like 20 years, people are like, dude, yeah, I love that record. It's got that Walmart sound.
It's got that Walmart
It's that classic
sound
Walmart
that
sound.
everyone has now.
And not just any Walmart. Not just any Walmart. It's that classic Franklin, Tennessee
Sounds
Walmart.
like a Franklin Walmart.
Yeah,
Sounds
wasn't
like
the-
Mallory Lane.
yeah.
Mallory Lane, right?
It was the Mallory Lane Walmart
Yeah.
verb that they used because the one in Arkansas,
Yeah.
it was a little more metallic sounding. This
Yeah.
one was much more creamy.
But really, the one in Brooklyn is the coolest.
That's what we talked about. We were like, you know what? Why don't they open up one of these in like Brooklyn or something that would go to much more of a desktop creation producer environment as opposed to Franklin, Tennessee?
Yeah. It seems like it's a weird place just because here a lot of people already know what they're doing. You know, Nashville is just such a different animal that it's different, but to put it somewhere else, bigger audience,
Yeah.
maybe it would work. And maybe we're dead wrong and maybe it's the future of the recording industry, but I just don't
see it. I don't see it. It's not even sustainable even when we're just doing basic numbers.
Yeah.
Like how do they keep the lights on in this place? I guarantee you in another 2.5 years, it's going to be a Pep Boys there or
Yeah.
a coffee shop or something. It's not going to be a recording studio. And as far as Full Sail, I would just say it's either a huge tax write-off for them, and that's more expensive or a cheaper way for them to just lose money that way than paying their faculty to go on the road to all these college fairs.
find individual students. To
Yeah,
do this.
yeah. And I think, you know what, they're like, we just rather get the people that come into Walmart because, and you think about on their end, maybe there's a little bit of like half-baked idea there that could be like, yeah, well, it's Williamson County. It's one of the richest counties in the world. So the average customer that comes into the Walmart is probably conceivably have enough to put together the tuition to go to a Full Sail
It's true.
experience. Okay, there might be some wisdom behind that, but it's sort of like, yeah, but at what cost? You
Yeah.
know, but look, hey, you know what? If it gives us another great record producer, another great Al Schmidt in the world, and it came out of them going into Walmart, worth it.
Sure.
But there's going to be a lot more Al Schmidts that are going to be made by the guys that really study it and go in and bust ass and want to intern at these world-class recording studios that we have all over Tennessee and just, or anywhere in the United States, or in the world, you know, but if they're going to find their way. And for those folks who may be considering that, I would say set your sights high because you can always work your way down. Do not start at the bottom and try to work up because you're going to get indebted, you're going to get distracted, and it's not a good choice.
Right on. Well, in the meantime, if you're looking for a place to record, there's Rain Feather Studios in Brentwood, Tennessee.
That's right.
Not really much more expensive than a Walmart, but it's
right.
got a whole lot more gear.
And
So-
you get an engineer, you get a whole bunch of good stuff. You get world-class gear here.
And then what, if you were to name, just in closing, if you were to name a few albums that just sound better on vinyl, that you would just like really say this album is really worth picking up at your record store and going through it again.
Okay. I think that there's three that immediately come to mind. One would be Sex Pistols, Never Mind the Bullocks. We're dating ourselves, at least I'm dating myself. But that one is hard to find that hasn't been retouched online. And until very recently, this one, Moving Pictures from Rush.
Nice.
It's hard to find the original online. It's all remastered or immersive or some bullshit. Get that one because that one's great. And then to me, one of the greatest sounding records that's ever been made rock-wise is AC/DC's Back in Black. Get the original version.
What a crazy loud record that is.
Oh, it's
too.
so good. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's perfect it's a perfectly recorded record.
Yeah.
And get the vinyl of it, and you'll understand why.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time sitting at home by myself with my dog, listening to records. And I can go through, I can listen to a bunch of records, doing housework or whatever, cooking. And Damn the Torpedoes just always sounds better than almost every.
Great choice.
Like you put it on, it's the volume is louder. It's just perfectly done, and it just always sounds better. An original Master of Puppets, which I do have, sounds a lot better than a CD. Fly By Night, another Rush record that really moves. Led Zeppelin 4 sounds different. It's one of those. It just does. I think it sounds like it's supposed to. It feels like.
Yeah. I think any of the Peter Gabriel solo records, so the Scratch, the Melt, Security. I think those 3 records in particular sound amazing on vinyl. Doobie Brothers Minute by Minute sounds great on vinyl. It's weird because records that came out digitally first, right? We can't really compare.
That's where I was getting to. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's like we almost have to get the ones that were of a certain era to be able to compare where the original release was on vinyl.
Yeah. Once you get into like the mid 90s and later. Yeah. You're talking about digital transfers on to vinyl, right? So you will still have your noise and your things that will contribute to it sounding a little bit more warm and authentic to the original recording, but it does change quite a bit in clarity because it's been digitized for the most part. I realized a couple of years ago I have a Sonos system in my house, and I had my turntable going wirelessly to my Sonos system, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
All I'm doing is listening to it on Apple Music at that point.
Exactly.
So you learn your lessons.
Yep.
You go fix, you get your preamps and get it all right. And since then, it's been a much more enjoyable experience.
I would say for those folks who are listening in their car, right, and you do a lot of your listening in your car.
You don't have a turntable in your car?
No, but try this. If you have a lightning connector or whatever, if you can actually cable up your phone or whatever you listen to on, or you have a CD of it, even a CD. If you have a CD of it, of the same song, same record, whatever, you put it on and you listen to a tethered transmission of it from your phone to your car stereo, and then you do the Bluetooth version, you will hear a difference.
Well, it's a different file source, right?
Well, it's just a whole different delivery method. Yeah. And what you end up missing is all of the richness of the low mid and the real details of the mid range. They start to become much more granulated when they're pushed through Bluetooth.
Right.
And so, that's for what it's worth. Try it if you don't believe us. But it's true. You'll hear it.
And I also just have to reiterate that an artist makes 1,000 times more money on a vinyl sale than they do on an Apple Music download. And I think that's a really important distinction to make. If you go to a show and they're selling their records and you want to support your band, that's one of the best ways you can do it.
Do some simple math here. Like, let's say you buy a single. You buy the digital download, even if you buy it. If you buy the digital download for 99 cents, that's way more than you streaming it once in completion, because that artist will be lucky if they get, and depending upon their value in the sense of how they factor into the overall popularity equation, Taylor Swift gets a higher royalty payout than, say, I do or Madrigals for Mongrels does. So when you look at that, you might be getting 0.003 of a cent per, as opposed to paying
0.003 of a cent
per stream relative to 99 cents
for the download. Then they get 10 cents off of it or something like that. It's just a different.
So you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're exponentially helping out your artists by buying the product instead of having access to their product.
And we know it's not fair. It's not a fair deal by any means for the artists.
No, never has been.
It never has. But has it ever actually been in the entire history of the industry?
No.
Right. So
it hasn't. But you did have a healthy middle class up until the turn of the the new millennium. You did have a healthy middle class where people could be like, yeah, I'm a guitar player in some B-level person's band. And they could make a decent living, put their kids through college, have some retirement money.
Session players.
Songwriters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you're dealing with with all this stuff, now you're just talking about 1,000th of a penny. Man, you got to move a lot of product. I mean, think about that. That's 1 million plays to make $3,000.
Yep.
$3,000. You know what? If you Google right now, what's the average income for an independent musician? Average income per year is $11,000 to $14,000.
Yeah.
That's government assistance.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
Anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And that's someone who is saying, I'm a musician. This is what I do for a living.
Right.
That's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. So that's where we're at. So net, buy vinyl, buy the limited edition, buy the concert T-shirts, do whatever you can to support them in a non-streaming environment.
That's right. That's the only way that anything's ever going to change in any kind of way is...
And still stream it. If you can,
Still stream it, yeah.
Listen and enjoy, but but buy it.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Is like,
if
I'll stream a record, and if I like it, I'll go buy the record. I'll go buy the vinyl.
And sometimes I'll buy the vinyl, and I might buy the CD, and I might buy the digital download.
Yeah, because you're a psychopath.
Just
All right, great episode.
Yeah,
Earworm out.
Earworm out.
See ya.
Bike tires, garden hose, Pop-Tarts and Cheerios make great art at Wal-Mart. Earworm stuck in my mind, can't get it out this time.